Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. My goodness. Good to see everyone here. Now, Lucy, I'm going to just put a little shout out to Lucy, the fabulous producer of this show. I have changed the mic setup a bit, so let me know if the volume is good. And just give me a little thumbs up before I say too many things. But hey, how's everyone doing today? My goodness, it doesn't seem like so long since we last did this, and I guess it was only 2 days. But today we are going to go back to our other Conlang family. We are going to do some work on Lənəðæjləf. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to try and engineer more of those cellar door moments that we got last time we worked on this language, when we came up with the name Lənəðæjləf. It's a thing of beauty. I love it. And so we'll do that. We'll finish up some noun declension in Lənəðæjləf, because I think we missed that last time, ran out of time. And then the third thing is I'd like to come up with a Romanization scheme for Lənəðæjləf, because, you know, I'm posting it on Twitter and on in the YouTube descriptions. And it looks, I think we just need, it looks weird to just plop it in an IPA. I think it would be cool to have a nice Romanization system, and maybe that will help with the aesthetic. So that's the plan. I think, the other thing I've been doing, I think I've solved the problem of what did we call it? The lexergy sound changes that were plaguing us last time. I kept having all these sorts of errors, and it turns out that I had not taken into account certain consonant clusters that emerged with all the vowel reduction and deletion that happened in Lənəðæjləf. And so, 3 or 4 hours later, I think I got it. I was actually working right up until the start of the stream. So fingers crossed, but I think it looks all right. So I guess I'll do the little YouTube intro, and then we'll scoot in. Center myself in the frame. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to another episode of Conlang with me. We are working on the Qal family again today, in particular, the language Lənəðæjləf. And our focus today is going to be working on the inherited noun paradigm for the language. So we have a noun paradigm in Proto-Qal that we need to essentially apply the sound changes to generate the paradigm for Lənəðæjləf, which is a descendant language of Proto-Qal. If you haven't seen the rest of the series, this is episode number something. So go check out the rest of the playlist, which will be in the description, and then come back to us if you want that context, or if not, just keep on watching. So without too much further ado, let's scoot over to the side webcam. Okay. So I'm going to catch you up on the things that have happened in the interim as I've been messing around and trying to solve problems. Not too many changes actually in the forms. So last time we looked at the verbal morphology, and we had 3 representative verbs. So we have the verb to do, which is ya, the verb to be thus, which is eif, and the verb to live, which is soima, or which was soima. And each one of these has all sorts of different forms, which it inherits from Proto-Qal. As an example, the past form, ya becomes eth in the past form. Eif became eivet, and soima became semainet in the past form. So there are all sorts of stress shifts, vowel changes that go on between the different forms of these verbs. And largely this is the same in the new version, which has a more robust set of sound changes that catch all sorts of cases that the old ones didn't. But as a result, there are a few small changes. So I'll go over them here. So now, instead of having ya, if, eth for to do, we have ya, yuf, yeth. And the reason for this is originally, if we go back to the, let me see if I can find it on here. So you can't see everything, but there's nothing too exciting that you're missing out on. Just some more rules there. So I'll just put that back. So these forms that were ya, if, eth are now going to be ya, yuf, yeth. And they come from ya, yechupa, yutta. And essentially what happened is we're deleting schwa from protocol to Lənəðæjləf. But what I was doing is I was deleting it indiscriminately. Whereas if schwa is stressed, I don't want to delete it. And so that's why what happened was we went from yita to yita with no vowel there. And then that y glide turned into e. So ita, and then a few more things happened and we got eth. Now what happens, because this schwa was stressed, it goes from yota to yeta, and then gets treated as yeta thenceforth, and we have a form like yeth. And there are a variety of things like that. So we have the old form here, which we'll replace with the new form, which is more or less the same, but there are a few little changes. And similarly in the regular verbs, the more regular verbs, I've and soimen, they went from Eif and soima to Eif and soimen. So I want to keep that N on the end there. So we have soimen, semeneuf, semeinet. So this shows you the three different stems that endings attach to in Lənəðæjləf. Stem A, which has initial stress, soimen. Stem B, which has final stress, semeneuf. And stem C, which has penultimate stress, semeinet. And then there are all sorts of verb adjustments that happen as a result of those different stress patterns. And so we see the whole verbal paradigm. We don't yet have a negative form. We should probably get one of those. You see the whole verbal paradigm here: soimen, semeneuf, semeinet, semenesh, semeneuk, semeinus, semeneuk, semenevus, semenevel, and semeinef. I suppose it's not final stress. It's can be. It's root final stress, is I guess what I wanted to say. All right, so that's basically what's going on there. And so we have, for each verb in Lənəðæjləf, we have three principal parts, three stems that you need to know in order to conjugate the verb. You need the stem A, the stem B, and the stem C. So here we have soimen, semene, semein, which are stems A, B, and C for this verb. For to be thus, we have actually only two forms. So stems A and C are the same because of the sound changes that have applied to it. They've just merged these two stems. So we have I've, avi, I've. And then for to do, it's just quite irregular. So, we probably shouldn't try coming up with different principal parts for that. It's just a mess, as well it should be. It's the verb to do. Okay, so with that said, I think I'm going to just replace the old with the new. Oops, that was the wrong one. And then, boom. All right. Yeah, we got some juicy declension tables going on here. So basically we did verbs. Now the verbs are cleaned up. Let's do the nouns. And so we should refresh ourselves as to what the proto-language noun system was like. So we have three. Let's get the, don't look at that. That's scary. This is my Lexergy rule sets. Where is it? The lexicon here. So I've taken three nouns, and we're going to apply the sound changes to these noun paradigms and see what happens. So we have masafa. What is masafa? Masafa is the word for sun. So masafa meaning sun. We have huasahakwa, which means a caw-er, or a crow or raven. And then wana, sorry, I should have shown you there. There's our crow. Comes from this verb huasa, which means to cry out, crow or caw. So it is a nominalized form of the verb. And then we have wana. Oops. Did I have it on? Yes, which means I. So 3 different nouns. This should give us a decent idea of the different forms that nouns can take because they have somewhat different phonological shapes. And this is going to be important. Different numbers of syllables, different positions of schwa are going to lead to different outcomes in Lənəðæjləf. So I think we should run it through the sound change applier. So let's go over here and do so. Okay, so I've actually already done it. It's one of those TV shows where the person has cooked the meal already. Let's see if I can position things such that they look reasonable to you. There we go. So we can get rid of these verbal things here. And here we have all of our forms. So these are the different case forms. We'll look back and get the meanings of them in a second, but here they all are. And we're ready to go. Oh, by the way, before I do, can I just brag? I'm kind of proud of this. Look at the line count. 245. Now there's spaces in there to be sure, but that was an intense undertaking. So just gonna see if I can pat myself on the back there. Okay. And I've also given relatively exhaustive distinctive feature specifications for all the sounds we need. Maybe I can post this somewhere because I think this would be helpful for other people if they're using Lexergy, because it took me a long time to write it out, and I think I wouldn't wish that on anyone else. So that's something we can do too. Okay. So without further ado, drum roll, right? Let's see what we get. Okay. Okay, this is going to be fun. So let's take the first noun, masafa, the proto-language masafa, meaning sun. And let's, how do I arrange these windows to make it decent? Okay, so here we go. Masafa, sun here. So let's take these are the proto-forms over here on the left, and these are the descendant forms on the right. So here we'll just rewrite them there. I'm sorry you can't see the right side of this Lexergy, but you're not missing out on anything because I'm going to write it, just going to copy and paste it into here. Okay. So we have, I don't know why it's like that. Okay, good. So for the nominative, genitive, and vocative, we have syncretism. So we just have mas. And we can, when we get to something that's a bit unexpected, we can run through the sound changes and explain why we get that form. So why don't we do that for mas, and just so we can orient ourselves, and then we won't do it for everyone, but we'll do it for something where it's a bit unexpected. So I'm going to write this over here. I'm going to put it up here so you can see it. So what happens is we assign stress. So protocol had antepenultimate stress. So we have the stress assignment rule, putting the stress on the antepenultimate syllable, nothing too groundbreaking there. Then we get schwa deletion. So we have masafa going to masfa. And then we get apocope deleting the final vowels. So masfa goes to mas. We lose that consonant that was in the onset of that syllable fa as well, because we now have an illegitimate syllable if we were just to have masf. So according to the syllable structure of Lənəðæjləf, which is roughly, you can have an S, and then you can basically just go up the sonority hierarchy. So S, then stop, fricative, sonorant, vowel, sonorant, fricative, stop, S. That's the rough sequence. So we can't have two fricatives in a row, at least not the sequence SF in a coda. So that's what we're dealing with here. So that's why we have mas instead of masf. So that gives us mas, and that gives us our nominative, genitive, and vocative. So we might just end up calling that nominative. Okay. So far, so good. That's relatively simple. I'm going to just take a break to just check out the chat. Excellent. Yeah, talking about aspect. Yeah, we should do a special video on aspect one day. It's one of my least favorite linguistic terms, as I was complaining about in the Discord. By the way, if you're watching this and you're not on the Discord, we've got a link in the description, so check that out. Very, very fun place. And let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, people talking about their work. Excellent to see so many people, so many people's projects underway. Yeah, Zachary points out that S as a strident ends up breaking the rules sometimes with respect to sonority and the sonority hierarchy, and the sonority sequencing principle that's giving us these kinds of syllable shapes that are ascending in sonority towards the peak, which is the nucleus, and then descending again. S sometimes says, hey, wait, I'm an exception. So that's what we have here as well. Okay, so we have masafa going to mas. Then we have masafauque. And this is going to masfeuch. Got to round that so this is the accusative. And it's worth looking at why this behaves the way it does. So let's go and tell the tale. I'm sorry you can't see this again, but I'll just copy it over. So masfeuch undergoes a lot of things. Okay. So basically what happens is we get we undergo coalescence. So vowel sequences coalesce to create long vowels. So masafauque becomes masafoque. So we finally did the coalescence. And then we assign stress based on that. Because we now have long vowels in the mix, the stress is going to be attracted to them. So we have penultimate stress in this case, rather than anti-penultimate stress. So masafoque. We then lose the length distinction. Its only remnant is in this stress difference. So immediately after creating this length distinction, which attracts stress, we lose the length distinction, but keep the stress where it was attracted to. And so we have masafoque. We then have umlaut, where we have a very extensive umlaut system, or I mutation, or front vowel mutation system. So what happens is if you have a front vowel anywhere, all previous vowels will front. So from masafoque, we have masafoque, and then actually, I think it is broken by a schwa, if I'm not mistaken. So if there's, I guess the schwa is going to halt the spreading of that frontness. So we go from masafoque to masafoque. We then delete the schwa, so masfoque. Then we do intervocalic voicing, so masfögwe, and then anything, all consonants in front of a front vowel palatalize. The palatalization, and then the palatalization spreads across consonant clusters, so we get something like masfögwe, not easy to say. Basically palatalize everything. What happens next is something that's drawn from Old French. So we get palatal consonants throwing off a palatal glide before them. So we get mais feuille. Yeah, that's this here. Then we depalatalize the consonants. So we get mais feuille. We delabialize the labiovelars. So we go from mas feuille to mas feuille. And some garden variety lenition, mais feuille, apocopy, losing that last vowel, mas feuille. Final devoicing, mais feuille. And then unstressed vowels reduce, and that gives us mas feuille. And that's our form. So taking you on a bit of a long journey there, but that's how we get this, mas feuille. So hopefully that all makes sense. I think I didn't show the very last rule. Basically off glides delete in unstressed syllables, so we don't have any of these schwa glide clusters. The glide just drops out. So from mais feuille to mas feuille. Okay. So Zachary asks if the high vowels are preserved in the coalescence phase. What I've done in the coalescence phase, and I'm not totally sure I will keep it as is I'll show you the actual rule. So it's a bit complicated. Where is it? Okay, so basically identical vowel-vowel sequences coalesce into just a long version of that vowel, unless it's schwa, and then it coalesces into a short version of that vowel. So whether that's realistic or not, I don't know, but it did get the result that I wanted. So, which is maintaining stress on this huas here. So huasakwa. I wanted it to be huasakwa rather than huasakwa. So there's that. Then when you have low vowels preceding either, when you have a low vowel, which is just a at this point, preceding a front vowel, it's going to become a. When it's preceding a back vowel, it's going to become o. So that's going to give us something like ae going to e, or ai going to e, ao going to o, and au going to o as well. Then we have if the high vowel starts the sequence, then it just becomes a long high vowel. So no glide formation, no on glide formation, no rising diphthongs being formed here. And then basically what happens here is if there's a schwa coalescing with a non-schwa, the non-schwa's quality wins. I don't know if all of that is realistic, but it gets some decent results. I've worked on this for probably too long, so I'm at this point where I'm not really necessarily seeing the forest for the trees. But yeah, it's something. Okay, so with that in mind, let's continue our path. So we have the accusative here being mas feuille, the dative being masfanum. So essentially we have these forms where we have the stress preserved on this on the root initial syllable, and then we have these forms where the stress gets attracted to the ending. So mas feuille, masfanum, masfof, masfiven. For the accusative, dative, simulative, and causal. And then we have these other forms where something else happens. Mazevaf, mazevam, mazevam. And so I think it's probably worth detailing this briefly before we go on. So let's see. This is masafama. Let's do this one. Masafama. So at the sun, on the sun, in the sun. What happens there? Hopefully it's not as complicated. No, it's not. Okay, good. All right, so let's just make sure you can see this. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit. Okay, so we get, here the difference is the schwa is going to be stressed. So masafama, then we voice our obstruents intervocalically, mazivama. Then we strengthen this schwa because it is stressed, so mazevama. Then we neutralize B and V intervocalically to the voiced bilabial fricative, mazevama. Apocopy takes out the last vowel, mazevam. Then we lose quality distinctions in unstressed syllables, so from mazevam to mazevam. And then our nice bilabial turns into labiodental, so mazevam. And that's how we get that. And so mas has three stems. It has stem A, and we can just call them stem A and stem B and stem C. Maybe I don't know, can I use color? Well, I don't know how that's going to interact with dark mode. Let's find out, shall we? So we have, no, that's not going to work. Okay. Well, we have, I'm just going to insert a column here. Hopefully this doesn't come back to haunt me. A, B, 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 C, C, C. Okay. So that's the word for sun and the full paradigm. So it's not totally clear what the endings will be, but I think once we do two more nouns, we'll get a sense. So, and I won't go into nearly as much detail with them. I just wanted to make sure that we got a sense of the paths. Okay, try a bright color like green. Okay, let's do it. Okay, is that visible? Does that look good? Does it look painful? Let me know. Sometimes things look okay. They look okay on the screen, but they don't look so okay when they're put through the stream. So, onwards. Crow. I love this word. Okay, we already actually have it, so let's just bring back our... Okay, so here we have... Oh, you can't see them. You can't see them. Good. This is good. So I'll just play with suspense here and do it one bit at a time. So we have huask, which isn't too, not too much surprising going on there perhaps, but we're basically losing a lot of our schwas and a lot of our and our final vowels, and we get huask. What's next? Okay, then the B stems. Huaskoich, huaskoich, huaskanum, huaskof, huaskaiven. So now it's becoming clearer what the endings are that are going onto this B stem. So I will keep the, oops, that was not the right one. That was not the right one. Here we go. A stem, B stem, and then our C stem, choseuref, choseurem. So similar story here. We just get a different syllable being stressed, and that leads to all the difference in the rest of the vowels. And so where is that? Ah, yeah, there it is, orange. Okay, so our C stem is for this noun choiseur. And so it looks like our endings are and So these two forms, locative instrumental, are going to merge in Lənəðæjləf. So we're getting that nice kind of case merging action that you see in the history of the Indo-European languages, as unstressed syllables lose their phonological contrasts and more case endings end up looking homophonous. Okay, so then we have, what is next? I. So this is an interesting one. In the proto-language, it ends in a schwa. So this could give us some interesting irregularities, because schwa always is something that doesn't play nicely with regularity in this language's history. So, sorry, moving some windows here. Let's do it. Okay, so for the nominative case, since there are never any distinctions here, we can probably just collapse it, but for now we won't. So we have one. So far so good. We lose the schwa. That's about it. Then what do we have next? Oh dear, I don't even know if I can pronounce half of these things. All right, let's see if I can do it. So we have Yenich, I think would be the way. Wenenum, Wenuf, Wenaven. I really love this, Wenenum. That sounds really cool. I kind of hate this. Yenich. I think this is going to have to go, just for my own peace of mind. But for now, there you have it. And then our stem C is going to give us wanth and wan. Interesting. Presumably we have no endings in this class of nouns, because it would have wanted to give us wanum, and that is not allowed. But why don't we run through one of those just to see actually what happened? That's my guess. Okay, wanama. We can put it right side by side with mazevum to see what the difference was. Okay, so very little is going on with one. So first of all, we apply the stress, lose the schwa, and then the apocryphy takes off that vowel and the consonant that goes along with it because of the syllable structure rules. Fair enough. Okay. So this looks like our story. So what is going on here? What is the actual form that we can isolate as the different case markers? And to do that, I think I'm going to have to expand this window. Don't ask me why it's not letting me go all the way over. Always something. Just won't let me do it. Okay. I hope that's not distracting just to see that little corner there. It's distracting to me. All right, so we have the nominative, which is giving us a zero suffix, a stem with zero suffix. Where's our little zero suffix thing? There we go. A plus nothing. And nominative, genitive, and vocative are the same thing. Then we have the B stem plus something that looks like either euch or uich. And I think we are going to do a full accounting of it. We'll probably have to look at other vowel endings, but something like that, just for a first pass at this anyway. And then for the dative, we have something like B stem plus annum or anum. So let's just say V. Because the precise identity of the vowel will depend on the root, because it is the original root final vowel that's showing up. And then we have B plus VF, a different vowel, waskof, wanoof, wasfof. And then we have V even. Interesting. I'm going to stop making the Tezon Day reference, but after today. I'll stop after today, I promise. Okay. Catching up on the chat before we move on to looking at the C stem. Yes, so yeah, I think probably what we may do is simplify some of these more complicated diphthongs. Yeah, I like Raven. I like this idea. And yeah, hydrate and stretch. Hydrate. You gotta hydrate. You gotta stretch. Stay limber. Stay hydrated. Stay in the game. Rising Rose, thank you. And Ian asks, have I ever made a really synthetic language similar to Finnish? So the phase you see me at now, where I do more kind of things more towards the analytic end, is kind of a reaction against an earlier phase where I did a lot of stuff more in the synthetic realm. I think that this kind of seesaw happens with a lot of conlangers, especially when you get started in the hobby or in the art. What I did anyway, I can't speak for anyone else, but what I did was first conlang, the 2 or 3 languages I knew anything about at the time, sort of put into a blender, and you got English, French, and Latin coming out. Something that basically replicated them. It was more or less a relax, with a few differences. And then you learn a little bit more about linguistics. You expose yourself to more kind of cool stuff. You see other people's work and you think, oh, I got to put all this stuff in. And so the next phase ends up having, I call it like the kitchen sink conlang. So just put everything in that you've learned about. And then the third phase is where you exercise restraint and you try and come to some middle ground between those two things. And for me, that occurred when I started studying typology and started studying the ways in which different languages solve different problems in different ways, or they take different choices, and these choices are not totally independent, as we've seen with our in the word order correlations video, which I when we put this up on YouTube, link it in the description. And sometimes these connections show you something sort of about the language on a deeper level. And so that's at that point I really tried to chase that naturalism in my conlanging. And so once I reached that point, I more or less reached a stable state, and then the only swing was in the pendulum between analytic and synthetic. But at this point I have so many things on the go at once that half of them are going to be one way, half of them are going to be the other way. But the stuff on this channel so far, I've definitely leaned towards the analytic. Yeah, you can also, as Ship Combo points out, you can also avoid those first two mistakes by watching other people make them, or watching other people talk about how they made them. If I can ever, I don't know where this material would be. My very first conlang that I made when I was 12 was called Andirian. And yeah, that would be a very interesting thing to revisit if I could ever find it. I remember I had a, as the extremely, well, you can guess how I was when I was 12 years old. I had a big binder, and it was full of, my handwritten dictionary, verb charts, all these kinds of things. It was something. It was something. I'd be interested to find it again if I actually could. It may be somewhere. It's definitely in a box somewhere. Okay, enough memory lane. Let's get back to our declension. All right, so we need the C form. We have to make some generalizations here. So what do we have? We have our C form, our C stem plus something like, apologies, I forgot to put my phone on airplane mode. Amateur hour over here. Plus F with or without schwa. And then we have something like plus nothing or schwa M. So it's more or less, the shape of this is coming together in some way. I will say, I'm going to see if I can play around with color a little bit more, because some of these I don't like as much. No, I'll wait, because stay on track, Colin. We're doing nouns now. We'll do Cellar Door stuff later. So I think this is what we have. I think maybe we should do one more noun with a different phonological shape to see if we can suss out what these endings really are, or if we have different noun declensions or something like that. And we may want to apply some analogy to this, because I want Lənəðæjləf to be a language with very complicated grammar, in the sense, well, that's a bit too vague. I want it to have very complicated morphology. I want it to have morphology kind of like Old Irish, which where you have different, say, verb forms which look completely different to one another because of whether the thing had an odd or even number of syllables, this kind of thing. And this is more or less what we have going on here. So let's find another noun. This is also part of stretching. All right, so what do we have here? We've done one that ends in schwa. We've done one that ends in a. Let's see if we can find another noun that ends in something else. Oyo. Oh, this is going to be fun. You just know it's going to be fun when it has that yod in there, meaning thing. Oyo and payawi, or payawi rather, swan. Okay. Let's put those in. And I suppose I can move this over so you can see. All right, let's just see what happens with them. We can delete this other stuff. So we have öy and fire. That's kind of cool. All right, maybe I shouldn't have deleted all that other stuff because we need to add the endings. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do some copying and pasting. So I'm going to put it on full screen webcam. I'm not sure it's of extreme interest to anyone to see me fumbling around with Control-C and Control-V, but has to be done. Talk amongst yourselves. Or maybe I'll just ramble on about something while I do this. I think, yeah, I really want to find that old binder in Derian. What a language. I mean, of course, it was basically French and Latin. I knew enough not to try and make it too much like English, but I didn't really have anywhere to go from there. All I had was my, the French that I was learning, that I'd been learning in school for, at that point, maybe like 4 or 5 years. And then I had a Latin dictionary, which I had recently acquired as I was becoming a proto-linguist. And I found zompist.com. I read the material. I read basically everything on that page, and tried my hand at making my first conlang, and well, the rest is history. Okay, let's just make sure this works. Good. Back to it then. So we have euch, onem, oaf, even, of, quite irregular. And then fire, fich, finem, fif, fiven, fayuf, fayum. I'm not good at this glide, I have to say. I have to sort of steel myself and remind myself I'm trying to speak a language that has that glide. I just have to. Again, you need to stretch, you need to hydrate before you do these things. So important. Okay, so let's scoot these things over to our new noun paradigm. Lənəðæjləf. So we have thing. And maybe what we'll end up having is different declensions based on what vowel, or roughly what vowel or syllable shape the thing had in the proto-language. And maybe we'll use this as the basis for analogy. Not sure. Could do it. And then swan. So here we have more evidence for the fact that this language is scary for a learner anyway. So here's our stem A. For the first one, it's öi. And our stem B is, we have different forms here, so it's not quite clear which one is stem B for this word thing. And here we have O as the stem C. So yeah, this is a right mess I've made. But I kind of like it. So I think that probably the next step, now that we've seen what's going on here, is to do a whole bunch more of these and then sort the nouns into declension classes. I think that's the next step. Yeah. Fire, fayum. Yeah, tasty irregularities. How would it stack up against Biluridian Standian? Be careful, I might consider that a challenge. Okay. All right. Shall we call it there for the noun specific portion, and then we can go on into fun aesthetics, Cellar Door moments, and Romanizations? Yes, okay, let's do it. I'll go back. I'll say goodbye to our YouTube friends. Bye, YouTube friends. Thanks for joining us. And stay tuned, and we're going to have a lot more. So every YouTuber has to say it, right? Like and subscribe. If you're interested in that kind of thing, more is coming. Good. Okay. I know I'm supposed to let the segments breathe a little bit in between them. I'm just a bit hyper. I don't know. I don't know if it's just streaming or if I'm just naturally hyper. Yeah. Regularizing these is going to be quite the task. And I think we will end up regularizing them, but I want a certain core that do not get regularized. I want irregular nouns. I like irregular nouns. Too often irregular verbs get all the spotlight, and irregular nouns, they just sort of languish. Something might have an irregular plural, sure, but I want a complete irregular declension. The everything else declension. Okay, so yeah, how's everyone doing today? Is it good by you? I'm going to look at some of the chat here. Oh, okay, interesting stuff. I think I've missed some things. So Zachary, when you mentioned this, the nominative verb, so I'm trying to read it properly here. Are you saying nominative ending in a vowel, and then a verb starting in a vowel can become is that nominative or nominal? Ending in a 2-vowel sequence followed by the verb, and then maybe the V comes from a passive marker. That's interesting. I'd be curious to hear more about that. Are we going to play suppletion? We should probably play suppletion at some point. Using sandhi to create new word forms. I think why not? I think we have to. I think as we get more of the grammar of Lənəðæjləf together, we can find opportunities to do that. Especially things like light verb constructions, which are in a protocol is OV and Lənəðæjləf is VO. So if we had light verb constructions in the proto language, they would look something like, I don't know, nap, have, or something like that. Walk, go. And that could really easily fuse at some point before the switch to VO. And then we have these kind of fossilized verbs that look like, that originate in these light verb constructions, but from the OV stage. That would be kind of cool. How important, okay, Moontruther asks, how important is personal pronounceability in my conlangs? So, if something is unpronounceable, it's usually I take it as my problem rather than the conlang's problem. But when we are, given that, I'm trying to do things that are entertaining and not painful to watch, I'm making a bit of an exception for stuff that I do on stream. I want it to be more or less within my comfort zone of pronunciation. That comfort zone will expand as I spend more time with these languages, I think, but I would very, very rarely in normal circumstances change something because I find it hard to pronounce. I would just try and get better at pronouncing that thing. I have confidence that it's all possible. Sometimes it just needs a bit of attention. Yeah, that's a good question. Of course, if, for projects where other people are involved, that becomes different. So, if you were, I don't know, working on a project where, we were working with, say, someone who didn't have a lot of experience pronouncing sounds except for, say, the sounds in their native language's phonology, you may want to make an exception in that case too. I know, I feel like it's the most long-winded way possible of answering that question. Oh, cool. Okay, Zachary is talking about about ways of making noun endings via Santi. Kind of like the okay, that's a great example. Anaita going to anaita, aneta, and then being reanalyzed as aneta. Awesome. And Deep Solar, yes, thank you. You're trying to make my life. You're trying to make my job for the proto-language game hard. For those of you who don't know about the proto-language game, basically what we're going to be doing for the first time later this month is a group of people on Discord has come together to try and stump mostly me, also anyone else who wants to play. We're going to come on the stream. We're going to get a set of a cognate set from related languages, and we're going to have to try and reconstruct the proto-language together on stream, and they're not going to go easy. So, we'll see. I said just make it doable in 2 hours. That's all. And it's also good if there's a chance I might fail, because that's always fun. The suspense, the drama. When introducing a friend to conlanging, save the pre-nasalized uvular trills for later. Oh my goodness. For some reason, I don't know what it is. Uvulars, I have a restricted inventory in uvulars. I find the trill very, I can attain it, but it's not by any means 100% of the time. The coronal trill I can do on command, but the uvular trill, no. Maybe 50% of the time I can do it, and 50% of the time I go into the voiced fricative, which, it happens. Irish consonant mutation. That's like ding, 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 Pavlov's dog. For me, Irish consonant mutation is one of my favorite things, one of the few things I've actually published anything about. Well, actually, it was Scottish Gaelic consonant mutation, I believe, that I actually ended up publishing about, but the analysis is kind of the same for both in terms of the theoretical importance of it. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. If you're interested in that challenge, join Discord, talk to Lucy. She'll sign you to one of the groups, and because the first one's going to be this month, and the second one is going to be next month. And if people keep wanting to do it, then we will keep doing it. All right, so I think we should move on. Why don't we move on? Let's do some. Yeah, let's look at what we've come up with for Lənəðæjləf and see if there's anything we want to change. We don't have to change it with Lexergy or anything like that, but we can just sort of do some hand tweaking, and I can go back in my own time, burn the midnight oil and figure out how to reconcile it with the sound changes in Lexergy. So, all right. Oh yeah, the YouTube thing. Hello once again, YouTube. Welcome back. We are working again on Lənəðæjləf. If that name doesn't mean anything to you, I would check out the rest of this playlist because it's a whole big story. We're on episode something of it. It's above 10, I know. I can say that with confidence. So today we are going to be working on the sort of the feel of the language. We're trying to aim for a certain aesthetic, and let's call it the Lənəðæjləf effect. So whatever feeling we get when we say that word Lənəðæjləf, we want that to permeate the whole language. And right now it doesn't. Right now it's only isolated islands that have this Lənəðæjləf quality. And so we have to isolate this quality and make it take over the entire language. That's our task. So let's get on it. Okay, so if we look at these noun paradigms, we have 5 nouns here, reasonably irregular paradigms. I think we should identify things that fit the vibe of Lənəðæjləf. We'll use the name of the language as our guiding principle. And we will, let's flag the ones that don't and try and figure out why. And another way that we can do this, actually, maybe this is an easier way, is let's go to a little text, because I've written a little text in this language. So we have here a viduk fai naiva mon mazel uch mas. We can get rid of the protoforms here. A viduk fai naiva mon mazel uch mas. And let's make sure that we have the correct oops. The up-to-date stuff for this. Huask mauch hazen uch skoft. Oops. What am I doing? Unfortunately, Lexergy's interface is slightly difficult to fit on stream, so thank you for bearing with me. And then finally we have solum quoth suxwan. So I'll say the whole sentence. So this is the first line of our raven fable that we translated originally for Eustamia. And here it is in Lənəðæjləf. So we have Avidach fei naive mon mazel uch mas. Huask mauch hazen uch skoft. Sonum quoth suxwan. I think that we're onto something there. We're onto something. Things I like. I like Avidach. So I like these voiced fricatives. Thai, I don't love, but I could learn to love. I could learn to love it. Thai, Naiva, I like. Mon is fine. Mazel is good. Maybe. Yeah, is fine. Mas is fine. Huask, mauch, hazen, skoft. So I think really what I like is voiced fricatives. I think that's what's giving me that sort of that certain, I don't know this je ne sais quoi of Lənəðæjləf. It's, hey, does it have voiced fricatives in it? Then hey, there you go. That's great. Sonum quoth suxwan. Avidach fei naive mon mazeluch mas. Huask mauch hazenuch skoft. Sonum quoth suxwan. Okay, when I say it like, with feeling, I like it more. I don't know if I would actually change any of this. Mauch, skoft, sonum quoth suxwan. Yeah, I like that. Okay. But there are a few things that come up. So now maybe we can use this this reading as a sort of planting of the vibe seed in the earth of our memory. You're gonna have to stop me with this metaphor because it's grim. Okay, so let's see if we can identify any forms that are kind of clashing with the feeling. One right away that I think I would want to change. Semeneuf. I don't love this euf at the end. I almost feel a sense of wanting to get rid of this W, the semeneuf, and give us to semenef. I like that a bit better. And because this is underlyingly a V that's getting word final devoiced, it doesn't seem utterly unnatural that we would lose a W before a V. So what if we did that? And instead of semanelf and a vief, we had semanef and a vief. I think that works a bit better. So where are we going to write this down? And just write down here, W to nothing before F. Okay, that works. Seimen, that works. Seminus, semeneuk. Again, we have this euk. Euk. I don't love it. We could do, Raven points out we could do the French thing and do eu to e. Semenuk. Semenuf. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We have our front vowels, and so we could easily add some more. Let's see what happens. So if we got some neuf, but then what are we going to do with this ew? Are we going to do vif, semeneuf, semeinat. Part of me is tempted to adopt this, and part of me is tempted just to delete the W altogether. Elf to fuv. Interesting. Oh, tell me more about this. I think I just need to see it come back to the side, my little chat view, because it goes by so quickly when it's on screen. Yeah. Well, what we can do, let's leave it here, and let's put up some options. So we can remove W before consonants. Maybe we remove W after front vowels, or before consonants. So this would leave our auch, or this kind of business. We could do some vowel coalescence. So essentially taking the frontness of the first part of the diphthong, the roundness of the second part of the diphthong, and just pushing them together and giving us a front rounded vowel. And then similarly with ew. What else? We could. Okay, Zachary asks, what's the semantic weight of ew? Here it is. Let's go back to where it was. So it is the substantive inflection of the verb. The substantive is kind of like it's the nominalizer. Sorry, this is these are the what's it called? The modern forms, the Lənəðæjləf forms. So this wuk is the substantive ending. I think we've got a big fan. We've got a fan base for coalescence in the chat. And then, okay, so if we're going to be doing this, then we need to figure out what we're going to be doing with all of the vowels. So ow, going to o, going to o, presumably as well. Oo going to oo. I'd imagine. Okay, that's a good... Raven points out something interesting here. If we deleted W before labialized consonants and then monophthongized otherwise, that could work really nicely. Yeah. Yep. That makes a lot of sense. So then we would have something like a vif, semanef, but then semanek and a vik. Yeah, I like that. And so it would be similar here. Lovely. Okay. I'm happy with that. Well done, everyone. Well done. Teamwork. Yes. Okay. Let's take a look at the nouns now. Are there any cases where we want to make changes? So I like this. I like mas and huask, wan, oi, and fire. I think the A forms for all of these are totally solid and in keeping with our work. Then we have masfuich, huskoich, huskoich, inuich, euch, and fich. And I think this is, if I could train myself to reliably round and unround my lips while doing these diphthongs, then I think we should be in a good position. I do feel as if ui might turn into, we might keep the rounding in this diphthong here. We might also want it with schwa. Okay, let's take a look at the history of this form and see why it is the way it is. Why are you the way you are? So this is, oh, we don't have it anymore. Excuse me. So this is wanauque. What happened? There we go. All right, so let's apply, and I'll post it over to the screen so you can see what I'm doing. Apologize for the lack of visuals over on the right side there. Okay. Yes, what's happening here? So this is the crucial bit. I is turning to E. And then we are losing this E to a schwa, so E to E. I just don't see that surviving. So so Raven points at a really good suggestion here. We could just have the rounding the rounding of the glide come from the vowel. And so if we have schwa, then we're going to unround that, which is actually really cool, because then we would get, oh sorry, where is it? Then we would get yeah for this one form, which is super weird, and I kind of love it. Yenuich. Yeah. I kind of love it. So then we would have also, just put, this is my to-do list down here. I'm just going to write this in words because I don't know exactly the best way to make Lexergy accept it, but glide takes on rounding of so on glide takes on rounding of following vowel. Cool. And maybe both, maybe on and off glides. I think maybe that's what Raven was. Yeah, okay, yeah. You great minds, Raven. So off glide takes on rounding of preceding vowel. So then we would have, instead of yenui, we would have yenui. And I could see us simplifying that further as well. That works well. That works nicely. Okay, good. Moving on. What else do we need to do? So this one would stay euch, jenuich, choskuich, misfuich. So these would all harmonize, or the rounding would spread from to I to eu, choskuich, misfof, choskof, wanuf, oaf, and then we would lose this W, off. And we would change, because this is going to be a lot better when I do it in Lexergy because there aren't going to be mistakes, but for now we can just have something like chozeref, chozeref. And that works. And then we would also have our rounding spreading. So fayef, fayam, fayam. And what else? We can just take these sveig. Lovely. Yeah. I think that's gone a long way. Well done, everyone. Okay. Okay. Are there other things to adjust? So how does this affect our endings? So let's do some segmentation here. If you're a speaker or a learner of this language, if you're an acquirer of this language, how would you segment this morpheme or this word? So, okay, we have mas, cool. Then we have something that looks like musf, and then stuff that comes after it. We can remove the syllable things. I know you've told me there's a way of doing this in Lexergy. I will do it. I'll do it next time. Oh, cool. Yeah, Raven. Okay, thank you. So this is cool because we already have this precedent of oo going to oo. So it may make sense for us to have ü going to ü. And then we would have this, yenich. I think that's the only one, right? Okay, so we have this segmentation. So we have stem A is mas, stem B is musf, and then the endings would be euch, Anam, of, Ivan. That does sound kind of cool. And then the third stem, stem C, would be we could segment it as mazeva or mazev, depending perhaps on what other declensions are like. So let's say for the sake of argument that for now, let's just segment it as mazev. And that's good. Okay, then we'll see what's the sort of reasonable morpheme segmentation that someone acquiring this language would hypothesize. So I think this is it. Possibly goes after the schwa here. I'm not sure yet, so we can go on. Oh yeah, Violet. It is kind of like we are getting into slight root and pattern morphology here. And if so, let it be so. Fun. Intervocalic voicing seems allophonic. Yes, intervocalic voicing, I believe, is allophonic. We don't have a full analysis of this language yet, but from the way that we wrote the sound changes, I think it is allophonic. We haven't. Yeah, I think it is allophonic, which we will get to very soon when we do our romanization. Okay, so huask, good, segmented that way, and then husk, euch, anam, of, Ivan. So right here we have two nouns that are in the same class. Not class, but in the same declension class. So this means that we have our segmentation like this. So stem A is huask, stem B is husk, stem C is huazur. Okay. There is a learning curve. There is a learning curve to this, yes. If you are coming to this and this is your first exposure to conlanging, I would say you may enjoy watching the series on YouTube to see how it all develops, so you're not just sort of thrown into the middle of it. Also, in the works, or at least planned, will be some more introductory level conlanging stuff, so some more tutorially content. Yeah, apologies for that. If there are questions, if anything is unclear, please feel free to ask, and either I or someone else in the chat will be able to hopefully clarify things. Okay, so this is what we have for the morpheme segmentation for Xan and Crow. So these seem to be the same kind of thing. By that we mean they have the same endings: euch, anam, of, Ivan, of, Then we get to I, and this looks irregular. So we have one as stem A, and then we have just a very weird accusative form, jenich. So not clear what's going on there. This is a very, probably a pretty common word. Jenich. I don't know if we may want to apply some analogy and regularize it. Okay, but we have jenich. Then we have wenenum, wenuf, weneven. And so here it looks like, I'm going to stop doing that because that's annoying. We have a different set of endings. And then we have just this really weird form here. So we can just put this as, don't love that color, on there. I'm trying to find something that has enough contrast. Okay, fine, that works. And maybe people would interpret it as bimorphemic like this, because we have euch, and then we have ich, which is somewhat similar. And then we have these C stems, which actually go on the same phonological shape as the A stems, where we have this is the only possible segmentation. So then in that case, maybe the segmentation is actually before the consonant, because then that would preserve the single ending F for, what is this? The comitative for all three of these. Cool. And then it just has different endings for these last two cases, which are locative and instrumental. I think we can probably put this over so we can see all of it at once. Oh, thank you. Good catch, Raven. Raven points out that it shouldn't be it should be Well caught. All right. Then let's see what happens to our thing. So stem A is fine, normal. Euch. So I think the sensible segmentation is here after the diphthong. And then we have something like onum, of, and oof, this is tough. These are going to be hard to segment. But maybe they are something like this. And then there's a rule that just coalesces identical vowels, or I don't know. And then here, it's not clear what's going on because we have Ivan, Avon, and then just even. The form alone is even, and so there's nothing. The whole thing looks like the ending. So it's not totally clear what to do with that. So let's say that these are at least semi-regular, and these are mysteries. And they get this really, really attractive banana left out too long color. And then finally we have more support for our FMM segmentation. So of, yeah, thing is a bit irregular. All right, let's keep going. So our three stems for a thing would be ö, o. Our three stems for I would be wan, wan. Our three stems for crow would be huask, husk, hozere. And our three stems for sun would be mas, musf, mazeva. All right. Good stuff. Okay, so then we have fire, fire, fire. Great. Fich, finem, fif, fiven. So how does this work? Well, we have another case of the ending here being just the velar fricative. Fich. Here we have another num ending. Here we have another f ending. And here we have another vn ending. So these are looking kind of like the same thing. And here we have our C stem working like that. And I think we have a rule that backs a before y. So instead of saying I, we're saying I. So then we end up having the same stem for A and C. So fire, 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 fich, finem, fif, fiven, fire, fiam, fiam. And so this is regular. This is just a slightly less regular version, but these are clearly in the same camp. So we have no vowel before the endings here. just ge, num, fe, vun, rather than euch, anem, of, even, or ich, enem, uf, even. So it's like we're going to have a few declension classes in this language. And essentially, yeah, we've come up with something like ablaut. Cool. Yeah. Oh, I'm happy with this. So then let's update our. So we can call this class 1, class 2. I don't know, we might change these names. Class 3. And this is a bit irregular. Class 3, regular. This is an irregular class 2. I suspect that for a lot of the cases where, a lot of the instances where there's an irregularity in just one form of the paradigm, that's going to be analogized out. Are any of these productive? Probably only one or two. I'm guessing whatever one ends up being the most regular or common will end up being productive, and then we'll gradually migrate words from other more archaic classes over to the productive one. Looking at how nice and regular this is, although there is one, okay, I say this, but this actually has 3 stems: mas, musf, mazeva. Class 3 actually has only 2 stems: faya, fi. So maybe class 3 is going to be our most our productive one, where you only have to remember 2 stems because A and C have coincided. Yeah, possible. So this is now obsolete. Shall we do a few more nouns to see what other shapes end up looking like and what classes they end up getting put into? I thought it was going to drag the other one over. I think that would be a fun thing to do. So let's find another noun in the proto-lexicon. What are some options? Nafia. Manato. Quala. Language. The source of the name for this whole family. Kal. Oh, we can actually find out what the word for the cognate of eustamia is in this language. That sounds fun. So these were two separate words in the proto-language, but we're going to fuse them here. What else? Oh, fetu, day. Okay, that's good. I'm going to full screen so I can do my copy and paste magic, and we can just chat while we're doing that. Yeah, I'm really having fun. Like this is amazing. I'm thrilled. I am absolutely thrilled. Okay. Let's make some room. Yeah, what's going on with every one of you today? Each and every one of you. How are you doing? I am very happy, as Raven has pointed out. It's like, yeah, discovering things about something that you have, like when you set things up and then they have consequences that you didn't predict and you discover them, that's so cool. That's like, that just scratches a very particular itch that doing science also should hopefully scratch, where you come up with a sort of a simplified explanation of how things work, and then lo and behold, when it all everything interacts together, you end up predicting things that actually do in fact occur, and you're heralded as a great mind of science, and they write textbooks about you and folk ballads, children's television shows. Why is this not working? Okay. For some reason. There we go. Apologies for the dead air here. I'm doing annoying copying and pasting. Stretch your legs, you know, get some, pop some popcorn, something. I think it will be worth it when we finally see these forms. And finally, so we've got 5 new noun paradigms to work with. We're going to see what goes on with them. Hey, I'm here for a good time. You passed your driving test. Well done. Kudos. That's wonderful. Oh, I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to see so many goods in the chat. That makes me happy. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is going to be interesting. So, without further ado, back to, oops, nope, wrong button. There we go. Okay, so we have to go back to our Lənəðæjləf spreadsheet here, and we are going to put some, oops. Okay. So first of all, we have the word for feather. Naiva. Cognate with the Eustabia navia. So, oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. Naiva is feather. And so we have naiva, 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 navich, navanam, navof, navivan, navof, navov, navom, navom. So what's going on here? As usual, pretty simple here. In the A classes, we could probably just collapse this at this point because they're never going to be any different. Then we have a case where we have ich, anam, of, even, which is something that we don't have anywhere else. But it's very similar to one, just with a slight difference, owing to the difference in, I think, owing to perhaps the difference in final vowel. Well, we'll have to think about that. And then for the class B, or the B stems, we have navof, navom, navom. So we have, I don't know, I think I want to call this class 1B. So class 1A has euch, anam, of, even. Class 1B has ich, anam, of, even. And I think that should do. All right, next. So that's the word for feather. Then we have the word for lake, manato. What does this look like? So month. Nope, I always choose the wrong one. Month, mandhoich, mandhonum, mandhof, mandhoiven. Lənəðæjləf, excuse me. So this is another thing that seems to work mostly like class 1, but again, slightly different vocalism in the B stem endings. So we can call this a form of, we can call this class 1C, lake. And if we were like proper Germanic philologists, we would say, oh, O stem nouns and Ya stem nouns and E stem nouns, which is kind of what's going on here. I'm getting some tips in from Raven. You can click, hold, and drag your range. Use replace function and replace period with nothing to remove all. Yeah, so I could do a big find and replace. That's a good point. And period, replace with nothing. Boom, done. And then maybe we'll get rid of the stress marker because it's totally predictable. Everything that's not stressed is schwa. So we can just get rid of that as well. Although maybe it is helpful. I don't know. We'll just leave it. Because we're looking at the morphology here. So that's what we really want to pay attention to. And then, boom. Okay. Month, month, mundho. So this is another one. Okay, so another variant of class 1. Class 1 seems to have a lot of variants, probably has one for each vowel that a noun could end with. Let's look at quala, which means language. And before I do that, let me just all right. So then we have qual, qualuch. Okay, so we need to apply some of our changes here. Dof. Qualenum. So ich, enem, uf, even. Look familiar? So this is class 2, but it's not irregular, so it doesn't give us this different. So this is the schwa stem declension. So hello, schwa stem. Good. And then do we have one more? I think we have one more. This is a channel all about learning, isn't it? And I am no exception. I am no exception. So then we have eustamia, or the cognate of the eustamia word eustamia, which means fragrant coast. What are the Lənəðæjləf people going to call it? Astyma. Astyma, astyma. Astamich, astamanum, astamof, astamiven. Astamof, astamom. Astamom. Okay, what declension is this going to be? This looks a lot like the ya stems of class 1b. And of course, it's eustamiya, yositachamiya in the proto-language. So it is a ya stem. So this is class 1b. Astyma, astamich, astamanum, astamof, astamiven. Perfect. This is really cool. This is really cool. I like these Germanic sounding declension classes. And this is a yo stem. And this is a What is this? Hwasahakwa. So this is an A stem, and this is an A stem. And this is a schwa stem. Cool. Okay, I think we have one more. And then we'll call this segment, we'll call it quits with this segment and then do a brief, oh my goodness, I'm always running over time. But I think it's fine. We can do a brief Romanization bit. And what is the situation here? Fetu. So fetu is day, so this is going to be our U stems. U stem. And let's see what it's going to, see what it's going to do. Oh, I love these sound changes so much. So this is the word for day. Heth, hedich, hedunum, heduf, hedhiven, heduf, 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 hedum, hedum. So right away we have, it's interesting, we have very, very little going on in these C stem forms, with the exception of, with the exception of this, the schwa stems, which don't take anything in these last two cases, which, by the way, are locative and instrumental. Hopefully that'll be slightly helpful. Okay, so what's going on here? We have ich, unum, uf, even. We don't have this exact pattern anywhere. So we're going to call this class 4, the U stems. And I think we have basically everything. We have a. Oh, we don't have an a. We don't know what's going to happen with a nouns. What are we going to do there? We have to finish it, don't we? We have to. Do we have any nouns that end in a? Otherwise, we'll have to make one up. Palawe. We're going to do it. All right. So palawe, meaning water. And again, to minimize any pain, I'll just bring myself back up here so that you don't have to see me doing all sorts of copying and pasting. And yeah, I'm really proud of our work today. This is, I love this language. This is one of these languages that kind of surprised me at how much I like it. I love all my conlangs, of course, but you know, there are always some that are a bit special. And I think what makes it more special is all of the help that I'm getting from you, because I think this is really, it's really quite something that we're creating together. And you, I have to say, make me think of things I wouldn't normally think of. So if you ever feel as if you're in a rut conlanging, go conlang with other people. It'll break you out of that rut right away. And hopefully my ruts are to you new, and we can, you know, inspire each other that way. All right. So let's bring ourselves back to the land of having access to spreadsheets. Oh no, I've done it wrong. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to mess with hotkeys, but did not work. So let's get these in here. Okay, so here we have the word for, what was it? Water. Fala, 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 falich, falienum. Okay, we need to change this to falienum. Verlief. Verlieven. Because we are not mixing roundness in diphthongs. Okay, so what is going on here? We have ich, we have jenem. Actually, we might want to interpret this as part of the root with a slightly irregular accusative, which we've seen before. We've seen slightly irregular accusatives. So let's, I forget, what color did I use for these irregular ones? That was the yellow. And then verlief, verliem, verliem. Einem, if, even. Do we have anything like that? No, we do not. So this will be class 5. Stems. And that should do it. That should be the entirety of the noun, the declension classes of this language. Whew. Cool. Cool. And this will probably regularize. We will lose some of the more outrageously irregular kinds of nouns, but I think that's a pretty cool outcome. I'll scoot back to the full screen and say goodbye to YouTube. And thank you again, YouTube, for joining. We we do this all the time, so keep coming back. If you'd liked what we did here and you want to see more of it, like the video, because that's a great signal to me to keep doing it and keep this series ongoing. And subscribe for more. What more can I say, right? Okay, good. That is dealt with. Now let's do the romanization, because we need a way to write this language's name, and I don't want to keep putting schwas into the titles of videos and things like that. So, before I do, Raven asks, are we keeping ye and woo? Yeah, we may not. I could see a really good argument for not doing so. But then the problem is that paradigm is going to get more irregular, because we're going to have forms with lia, like falienem, and then verlieven. We'll see. I'll ponder that. What I have to do is take all of the sound changes that we came up with today and add them to Lexergy and make sure everything still plays nicely together. So while I do that, I will think about this. I'll write down a little note to self. Okay. So let's return. I'll do the little YouTube intro for this. I guess this will be a fairly short segment, but welcome back, YouTube. We are working on Lənəðæjləf again, and we're going to give it an orthography. So I don't think we should wait around too long. Let's just get started. Let's do it. I'm excited. You're excited, hopefully. And yeah, we've got orthographies to write. So here's our language. You've seen, I think, if you've seen the rest of this series, you'll have seen the lead up to this. If not, I'd recommend checking out the playlist, because otherwise it's going to be a lot of contextless stuff. But we have this a sentence here, a viduk. Actually, we will have changed some of these. I believe this should be faya now, because we know what the swan genitive is. Okay. Aviduk faya naiva mon mazel uchmas. Huask mauch. And this is now going to be moch. Excuse me. Okay, well. Let's see if there's anything else I need to change. Okay, no. Aviduk faya naiva mon mazel uchmas. Huask moch hazen uchskoft. Sonum quoth sukswan. So what we have here is the first sentence of a fable. What we need to do is turn this into some orthography. So we need to come up with an orthography, and I think let's do it in context. So right away, I think I don't want to be writing schwa. What I think we could do is write it with E. So let's zoom in even more. And let's just sort of get rid of some of this clutter on the screen. Give ourselves some more room. So I think what we should do is write schwa with E. And then what we'll do is we'll write proper E when it's in a main syllable with some sort of a diacritic. We don't have any examples of that, but I don't know what we would do. What could we do? We could use I don't know, an acute accent. I always like putting circumflexes on things. I find that amusing. It's like it gives some real sort of fantasy map. You know, at the start of a fantasy novel, you see the cool map and you see all these places with names and the vowels have circumflexes on them. It's like, wow, that's cool. I mean, that's my experience. So maybe we could have E be like this. Or the other option, you know, the sort of the French style system would be this kind of E. But regardless, we don't actually have to make a decision on that yet. So we have a viduk. So we could do for the, we don't have an actual phonemic distinction between the and th in this language. We have allophonic voicing of fricatives in intervocalic position. So we could do something like a viduk, faya. The question is, though, because we do have front rounded vowels, we may want to use our y, our y for y, IPA style, and then use j for the yod. I don't know. I actually don't love using j for yod in romanizations. I find that too few people know the convention of writing the palatal glide like that, and so I feel as if we could use, if we're going to be using diacritics, let's just use some more diacritics for the front rounded vowels. So aviduk faya, naiva, and the question is, do we want to write this naiva like this or naiva like this? I think we should treat the I really want there to be a V there. Do we distinguish coronal plosives and non-sibilant fricatives? Let's see. I believe we do. But I'm not. Okay, let me just take a look here. I need to run something through the through Lexergy. Where is it? So we have tohwa. I think it's afitohwa. Which is giving us our because. Okay. Yeah, I think that this first line might be missing some sound changes that have been applied. Alas. So instead of aviduk, we have avidus. Avidus faya naiva. Yeah, I think we might have to do a proper phonological analysis of this of Lənəðæjləf, because a lot of sound changes have applied in various conditions which have set up allophonic distinctions, but I'm not sure what all of them are off the top of my head. I'm not sure what all of them are off the top of my head. But another thing we could do with the romanization is kind of stray from the phonemic principle in favor of the principle of coolness, which is always a popular one. I'm going to do something. I'm just going to do sort of a very naive, like, I'm trying to help English speakers pronounce this style romanization first, and then we can back off. Okay, so here I've made a few decisions. I'm doing this voiceless velar fricative as GH because this is a devoiced version of the voiceless velar fricative that we see elsewhere in the word. The interdental fricative, the velar fricative, and the interdental fricative and the velar fricative are only ever voiceless at the end of the word. The bilabial fricative, or the labiodental fricative actually, exists voiceless in other parts of the word. So it exists voiceless at the start of the word, as you can see, falle, because we had a chain shift of P going to F, whole complicated thing. So I think it may be worth distinguishing between F and V. I just don't know if V can occur word initially. I don't think it can. So I think it still is in complementary distribution with F and V are in complementary distribution with one another. I don't know. We'll have to think about this. But basically, avilas faia naiva mon mazel uchmas. I think that is pretty good. And then we could also do the thing. Yeah, we could also do the thing. Well, let's Raven asks about the velar fricative. I was wrong. We do have velar fricatives in word initial position. So maybe it makes sense to do this. UKH and KHWSK. Huask, moch, hazen, skoft. But what if we did huask, moch, has. No, but we have the glottal. Nope, can't do it. What about that? Huask, moch, hazen, skoft. Gives a very different vibe, doesn't it? I kind of like that. It's kind of Welsh, a bit Welsh. Then we have to figure out whether we're basically going to have a phonemic orthography or not. Because whenever you see S in between vowels, it's going to be a Z. And whenever you see V in between vowels, I think it is going to be an F. So does it make sense to do avidas faia naiva mon mazel uchmas, like having kind of an Old English style orthography for this? Avidas faia naiva mon mazel uchmas, huask moch hazen uchskoft. And here we're making a distinction between this alternating velar fricative, because in etymologically it's coming from a voiced velar fricative, and it's going to show up as a voiced velar fricative. But of course, would the other one that comes... No, I'm tying myself into knots here. Rising Rose, thank you. Hydration reminder received. Hydration achieved. And we're stretching. This is a pretty sad stretch, but nevertheless, I don't know. Maybe we should just do Huask moch hazen uch skoft. But then we remember that when the CH shows up between vowels, it's going to be voiced. I kind of like the way this looks, though. Evidas fayanaiva mon mazel uchmas, huask moch hazen uchskoft, sonam quoth sukswan. Yeah, I like this. So, what do some of our more adventurous word forms look like in this? So if we were to write out the whole, let's write out the whole paradigm for crow. I'll just give us another column here. Oops, there we go. So we have huask. Then we have huask, and then we have to decide what to do here, but I think it's going to end up being I need my IPA keyboard. Actually, I need more like a German keyboard. There we go. Huaskuich. Yeah, I like that. Huaskanum. Golf. Huaskiven. What do we think? Chat? We like the way this is looking? Yeah, it does. It has kind of Celtic, kind of Old English vibes, especially with the C, and especially with the writing F for something that alternates between F and V. Real Old English vibes there. Yeah, it does have some Celtic vibes as well, it's interesting because when we started this language, a lot of the sound changes were based on Old French. And I feel as if we're in some ways moving away from that. And I like that because it gives us, if we start out influenced by one thing and then veer in another direction, basically copying from many things is basically like being original, right? So that helps us. Interesting. That's weird looking. Quack has a question. When creating grammar for your Conlang, where should you start? That's a really good question. What my approach is usually to start by jumping in right away and translating a short text. So this is why in this playlist, or in this series rather, the first thing we basically did after coming up with an inventory and a few word shapes was go right in and try and translate a little text, a little fable. And that gave us the opportunity to start to develop aspects of the grammar in context. And doing things in context is always a lot easier than doing them in the abstract. And I think as long as you can even start with one sentence and make a few decisions there, and then consider how those decisions affect the rest of the language which you've yet to create. So try and generalize from them a bit, and then try another sentence. And then when you put those two sentences together, you'll actually have created quite a lot of grammar. And the tendencies of the grammar will start to become more and more evident as you create more and more sentences. And you're essentially going to be hemming yourself in the more you do. But that's a good thing, because hemming yourself in is also kind of like doing the job and completing the grammar. You don't want too much freedom for too long, or else you'll never, the language won't solidify. And so that's what I would start. I don't go through and say, okay, let's do the whole noun system. Okay, let's do the whole verb system. I always start with texts. But before that, I do basic phonology, so we can and come up with some ideas, some inspirations that we want to take for the language. Basically, the method that I use in this playlist is my actual method. So that's my suggestion for you, Quack. And yeah, if any more questions, put them in the chat, leave them on in the comments of the video, or come join the Discord and you can ask there. And there are tons of Conlangers on there, so I'm sure they'd be happy to help, as will I. So let's This is really interesting. I kind of like it. And then the language will be spelled Lənəðæjləf. Lənəðæjləf. Yeah. I dig it. Oh, I'm glad it helped, Quack. Right. Okay, let's do another one. Oops, I moved you. Okay, let's do another one. This could be interesting. Yeah. Okay, let's do this word here. I don't know why it does that to me. Okay, astyma. Astyma. That means that's the place name, the fragrant coast. Then we have ystymich. Ystymich. Ystymanum. Ystymorph. Ystymyfen. Ystymorph. Ystymom. Ystymom. Nice. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, here's one. This is going to give us some interesting looking words. Month. Oop. I don't have that in my in my clipboard anymore. Mendeuch. Mendonum. Mendhof. Mendeuven. Mendhof. Mendom. Cool. I'm happy with this orthography. This is kind of good. And maybe we could do one more. Let's do the word for I. One. Yanich. And here's where we need to use our diacritic marking the true E. Where did it go? Here it is. Okay, tell me what you think looks better. We won't make a decision today, but chat, I'm open. I want to hear your thoughts. YouTube comments, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think looks better? We have to mark, we're using E on its own to mark schwa. So when we come to this form wenenum, do we use wenenum like that? Or do we use wenenum like that? I don't know. I kind of like them both. This makes me think of, I don't know what it makes me think of. It just has a cool look to it. And of course, then there's the perennial favorite, the classic fantasy world map, circumflex. And I suppose what we could also do when you think about it, so we're using the sign that German use for umlaut, above a U to indicate that it's front, above an O to indicate that it's front. If schwa is E, what would be fronted central mid vowel? A. Right? So maybe it's this, Wenenum. I think this is the opposite of some languages that use this to mark schwa. But I actually kind of like the consistency of this. I don't know. Okay, 3 options. Friends, conlangers. We're going to put a big question mark here. And we're going to leave it. Naven 1 1 1. And then we have to have it there too. Something to think about. Big brain moment indeed. So this is our attempt at a romanization for this language. I'm pretty excited about it, actually. Something about seeing it written down in a particular way just makes me think about the language in a different sense. I don't know what it is, but it's there. I think we should probably call it a day because it's way beyond 4, and I have to make sure that I do everything I have to do today. Although I have already done probably the most fun part of it. Sad. I'll downhill from here, or uphill. I don't know how that goes. Anyway, I'm going to come back to the full screen. Thank you. I'll say goodbye to YouTube now. Thank you so much for joining. We have had a great time together making an orthography. If you have strong opinions about the diacritic issue to mark A as opposed to schwa, leave it in the comments. Very happy to hear it. And otherwise, yeah, if this is your thing, please do consider giving the video a like or even subscribing because, hey, you'll see more of it that way. Otherwise, thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Okay. Bye, YouTube. See you. Thank you so much for joining me. This is great stream. I really enjoyed it myself. Thank you so much. We stayed hydrated. We stayed limber. I don't think there were any injuries, at least not on my side. So solid stream. I look forward to joining you back here next week on Tuesday when we may or may not get into a rhythm where we work on one family on Tuesday, one family on Thursday. But nevertheless, we'll be here on Tuesday, and we'll be working on either the call languages or our new language family, which I promise I will send out as soon as YouTube gives me the power. I will send out a poll to all the subscribers to see what we should name that family. So I've prattled on enough. Thank you again for joining, everyone. We will see you on Discord. We'll see you in the comments, and we'll see you on Tuesday.